Welcome to another day in the Matrix, Waters Above Crypto. Wishing everyone a great start to your week. Sending you all love and high vibrations. In today's video, we're going to jump right into a Gematria decode to review some upcoming date numerology and tie it all together with the Gematria code. Then I'll wrap up with some technical analysis on Bitcoin, Ethereum, and XRP to go over the setup in the charts this week. And also just a reminder, the new month has started on Patreon. If you've been patiently waiting to join, I appreciate all of your support. You can sign up now by visiting patreon.com/watersabove to sign up for the Mastermind Community membership and get instant access to my exclusive Patreon posts, all of my weekly Red Pill podcasts. Those are my technical analysis podcasts that I do for the Patreon supporters every week, giving a weekly wrap-up of the markets, sharing my sentiment on the market for the following week, gives early access to upcoming Gematria decodes and important dates, as well as reviewing a bunch of different altcoins that the Patreon members vote on. You'll also get access to our community Discord server, which is our community group chat, and you'll unlock the biggest discounts on my courses and merch. So you can sign up at patreon.com/watersabove. This link will be in the description and in the pinned comment of this video. So if you're new here, we do cryptocurrency technical analysis and combine it with Gematria Numerology and Astrology to understand these markets. Feel free to subscribe and turn on the bell notification to stay updated on when new videos come out. And make sure to give this video a like and share this channel with other conscious beings to help grow this community. And for those of you that want to learn how to do technical analysis and combine it with Gematria, you can join my Mastermind course. The link to my website can be found in the description box of this video and in the pinned comment below for access to the Mastermind course. And as I mentioned, anyone who joins the Patreon, they unlock a big discount on all of my courses, which are my Mastermind course, Advanced Trading course, or the Exit Strategy Blueprint. So whenever you join, you'll be able to get the discount link to that. So with that being said, let's take the red pill. So we recently just moved through our eclipse, which was on the last day of the month, April 30th. We made a video a couple days before that, kind of just preparing everyone for some volatility in the markets. Overall, we haven't seen a huge move. We're back pretty much to where Bitcoin was trading about 4 days before the eclipse. So all in all, still just in a range. Those of you out there that do technical analysis, you would just call what we're seeing right now as range bound. Now, as for everything else in the market, that's a different story. We do see a little bit of a slide down break of support on the NASDAQ and in a lot of other altcoins. And as you're probably well aware by now, NASDAQ being mostly the tech sector, it correlates a lot with the cryptocurrency market, considering that financial tech, fintech, is tied to all of this, basically in a basket. We know Bitcoin is the energy of this market. Ether or Ethereum is more of the energy of the altcoins. Where Bitcoin goes, Ethereum goes, and where Ethereum goes, pretty much all the other altcoins move. We definitely have isolated events with specific altcoins, and that's where we get into our Gematria. Those of you that have followed any of my work by now, you know that this Gematria code is profound when it comes to specific cryptos moving to specific prices on specific dates. So with that being said, I just want to kind of review some of the last things that have happened. Well, we did make it through the eclipse. It was definitely bearish, but not necessarily anything catastrophic, and that's really all that matters. We've actually kind of noticed that it's more of a pivot point, if anything. And another thing to mention is that on May 10th, we will have Mercury stationed in retrograde until June 2nd, and Mercury retrograde is also a pivot point in the market. So just like I've taught everyone, when we have our eclipse, we also have our lunar cycles. So we have our full moon, new moon. When we have the eclipses, it definitely will change a little bit of the direction of how the market's performing. So typically on the new moons, we see pretty much always bullish, but since we just had an eclipsed new moon, that kept us stationary. So that's really important to remember, because now that we're seeing this happen time and time again, it's definitely a pattern now. And as a technical analyst, you want to recognize patterns. So one of the things to show you guys was this Mercury retrograde chart. We definitely have a bear flag forming. And with this bear flag forming, It's not the greatest thing. We are definitely trading into the lower support line as well. Let me just show you this. This is based on wicks. So we have the wick coming back on the 24th of January, the wick right here of the 24th of February, and then recently we've been sliding down into it. And now that we've made it through this eclipse, it's kind of like, where do we go now? And the breakdown target for this is well into the low 20,000 range. But whenever you're doing TA, you want to take things one step at a time. So with that being said, we need to just see how this market reacts and if there will be any relief rally in the indices. We are due for a relief rally given how oversold this market has gotten so quickly with very little catalyst. And the only thing that could possibly said to give some rhyme and reason to why the market's been behaving like this is the market makers are essentially pricing in the upcoming Fed meeting where the Federal Reserve will be discussing rate hikes. We know this. So that is typically how it goes. And pretty much every analyst that I've been shown lately has been discussing these Fed meetings and how it's playing a big role in the market. A lot of them were saying that the whole reason for the bull run in the first place after the March crash was because of an injection of liquidity into the markets. And then, of course, when we start to see new all-time highs, retail gets excited and the retail FOMO begins. So there's really no way to debate that, and that's not really any point here. We need to collect as much data as we can as analysts and take what we can and basically explore all of our options whilst protecting our capital and not being greedy whenever we're in profits. If you could just pause the video, rewind the last 5 seconds of what I just said, that's a huge nugget of wisdom. So let's just quickly review some of the things to be upcoming. We know that tomorrow will actually be May 4th. And now May 4th is interesting because it is Hal Finney's birthday. So some of you might not be aware of Hal Finney, but he was one of the original people that was involved in Bitcoin. He was actually allegedly the first Bitcoin transaction between him and Satoshi Nakamoto. So a lot of people in the early days thought that this was Satoshi Nakamoto. So if you guys don't know about Hal Finney, go ahead and read about him. Pretty interesting computer programmer, computer scientist, and tomorrow will be his birthday. It'll also be his 66th birthday if he was alive. He died at 58, which I think is really interesting. It's a number that shows up quite a bit in my work, but let's just keep it on track for this decode. So with tomorrow being Hal Finney's birthday, and let me just show you his name really quickly because there could be connections here between Satoshi Nakamoto. So you see Harold Thomas Finney II giving you 73 in Chaldean. 73, of course, is the 21st prime number, and that 21 again coming back to Saturn, and these are both in the Chaldean cipher. Okay, so that 21, Saturn, Satoshi, it's all tied together, and that's pretty interesting how this guy's full name, full legal name, comes out to that 73 out of all numbers. You know, most of the time when people are new to Gematria Numerology, they're always saying, oh, it's a coincidence. Like, no. Okay. But anyways, I think learning about the Bitcoin story, the genesis of Bitcoin is always very interesting for people who are into cryptocurrency and learning a little bit more about it. We also know that this date written internationally is the 4-5, and that 4-5 as well shows up in Bitcoin in the code. You could see that in the reverse full reduction cipher. So there's so much to say here. I'm actually not considering this date as the most important date. We have some more dates to consider, but let's just play around with this number a little bit more. One thing we see is this will be 239 days since the start of Shmita, since last Rosh Hashanah. And 239 is the 52nd prime number. And why this is important, because we're talking about cryptocurrency. And cryptocurrency in the Chaldean cipher gives you that 52. All right, so this is a pretty big number. The 25 and the 52 show up quite a bit. One of the main ones is the papacy with that 52 right there on Pope. We know the current Pope is a Jesuit Pope, and the current Black Pope, Arturo Sosa, is also a high-ranking Jesuit, and this order in the world stage plays a big role in how this reality as we know it is moving around. So I'm sure some of you are already aware of this. That's not something we're going to harp on too much in today's video, but I do think there's a big connection here. And as you might be aware, the White Pope controls literally the financial sector, military, logistics, legislature. I mean, you could just keep going. Learn about the Pope and the Vatican, and you'll start to see the control in this world. I mean, Vatican, for instance, giving you that 70, and again, that tying back to Shmita, giving you the 70 and the 25, which were two ciphers, but that's just a side note. So one of the other things to consider as well as we move through is this connection to the day after, which will be 5/5. And remember, we were just talking about Hal Finney and the connection to Satoshi Nakamoto. And Satoshi Nakamoto, again, by the code, is giving you that 55, and not only the Chaldean cipher, but also the full reduction. So I pay attention to that Chaldean, of course, and that's the 5/5 date. So definitely interested in all of this. One other thing to mention is how it's the 240 days left in the year, and this 240 number, and when we were discussing cryptocurrency, again, we have that 204. So when we are doing numerology, we're removing the 0, giving you the 24. And again, here we'd have the 24. And this all ties back to the Jupiter zodiac logo. This is the zodiac logo of Jupiter, Zeus. So that 24 is absolutely important in all of this, okay? And I've been talking about this for quite a while now. And why this is so significant is because the date of 5/5, which ties to this 240, is a Thursday, the day of Jupiter. All right, so this 24 is not by accident. And as you might be aware, this connection ties back to Shmita, and this has everything to do with Zeus, or the Jupiter, as well as Kronos or Saturn. Most of it is about Saturn, of course, because that's the Sabbath, and every 7th day is the Sabbath, and then the 7th year in the cycle is Shmita, and this is all Saturn cult worship, okay? Has nothing to do with the Abrahamic religions. It's the foundation of them, if anything. It's the more esoteric side of it that most people who practice the raw religion don't even know about. So there's really nothing here to be broken down of significance besides that, but I will let you guys know a big day of interest to me based on how I've been decoding lately. This is a date that I find to be interesting. It'll be May 7th. All right. Now that 57 is definitely something. We'll just quickly point out the obvious, like we were talking about before with the Jesuit order being titled the Society of Jesus. We have that 57. But where I want to go deeper on this is this connection here to the 18. So this will be the 18 date numerology. All right. Now, this 18 date numerology will also be happening in the 18th week of the year. So we're currently in the 18th week of the year. This date will be within the 18th week of the year. And this is a big number in Judaism. So you can see right here, Chai, it's giving you the 18 in the Gematria, multiples of 18 being given as gifts in Judaism. This is a big spiritual number. It's a huge number when it comes to my decode that I did of Shmita on my Patreon. So I'm really interested in this specific day because we're seeing a couple 18s here. So remember as well, by the code, we have Shmita giving us the 18 in Chaldean. All right, no mistake about that. So yeah, 18 date numerology in the 18th week during Shmita, which is the 18 in the Chaldean cipher. And then as well, this symbol, I could actually just show you really quickly. It's giving you the 18. I'm not entirely sure if this will copy and paste over, but bear with me and I will show you. So you can see right there in Hebrew Gematria, this is giving you the 18. And the 18 is a word for living or life, a life. And this is pretty important to remember because when you're doing Gematria, it comes back to the Hebrew. If you're studying the origins of Gematria, of course, it's borrowed from the Greek and Greek isopsephy and developed into Hebrew through Kabbalah, and then it's been taken to the modern day with English, and English being the world's spellcasting language at this time. So I'm really fascinated with this number 18. I've been studying it a lot more lately. I would love to know some of your guys' thoughts on the number 18 if you want to share them in the comments section. Of course, one of the ones we talked about quite a bit last year was Venus, and Venus giving you that 18. And that is the connection back to phosphorus and eosphorus and the light bearer. So again, we also see that 25, like we were talking about a little bit earlier, and its connection to cryptocurrency, the Pope, etc. This will also be the 127th day of the year. So to go a little deeper on the number 127, that's the 31st prime number. 31 is the 11th prime number. So you see what I did? 127 is the 31st prime number. Then the number 31 is the 11th prime number. 11 is your big master number, the Twin Towers, Yakin, Boaz, the sun and the moon, duality consciousness. So that 11 is big, all right? And just consider this to this date, because the day before this, the transition date, the 56, this will also be a big date because that 343 right there. So it's 34 weeks and 3 days. And when you're doing math, 7 times 7 times 7 equals 343. I can just show you really quickly. So the 7 times the 7 times the 7, 343. All right. So definitely something I'm considering with this 5-6 transitioned into this 5-7 date, and everything tying back to the 18 and tying back to Shmita. So this is a date that I'm considering it as well. It's a Saturday, so it should directly affect only cryptocurrency because everything else will be closed. The stock market will be closed, Forex will be closed, etc. So it'll be a specific date for crypto, and that's why I think it's important for today's video. It's also 8 full months since the start of Rosh Hashanah. And this 8 is the infinity symbol, or the toroidal field. There's so much to say about the 8. It's also the new logo of Facebook, Metaverse. So trapping your soul infinitely in a virtual reality, perhaps. So this will also be about 3 days shy of Mercury retrograde. We know that Mercury retrograde giving us that 58, if I remember correctly. Right there, Chaldean, it's the 58. I'm not sure how I remembered that. Jeez, crazy memory. So we got that 5-8 2 days before Mercury stationed in retrograde. Again, another 55 date numerology. So this will be an interesting upcoming full moon, because the next full moon that we have will be an eclipse. So this was like the precursor, data before we enter the eclipse. And then next week we'll spend a little bit more time getting into the specific eclipse upcoming. I'll probably make a video over on Patreon for the upcoming eclipse as well. You could also see Mercury station and retrograde happening on the 10th of May, which will share the same date numerology as the start of Rosh Hashanah, the 5-7. Again, that 57, we were just talking about that a little bit earlier. And then the transition date into the 58. That'll be the second official day of Mercury retrograde. Second official day of Mercury retrograde in the year of 222, in the Hebrew year of 5782, which is also 22, and it shares that 58 in the date numerology, coming back to Mercury retrograde, giving you the 58. So, how is this going to go? I don't know. I'm really interested in it all. So perhaps a little bit of an XRP decode in the making out of this, but I hope you guys all enjoyed that decode. Lots of information regarding what's going to come. And I think that the past week was definitely a week of drowning out some of the retail and the market overreacting to the Fed. And now I think it's time for a little bit of relief. But let's just get into some of the technicals. Here I have that Mercury retrograde chart. All the red boxes are the Mercury retrograde timelines. And we could actually see that a majority of them are a movement to the upside. So I'm just going to put this on this line chart. And you could see right here, the Mercury retrograde pretty much moving up. Here, Mercury retrograde moving up. Here was choppy. Here, moving up. Here, choppy, but ended moving up. So a lot of the iterations are actually, recently at least, have been moves up. Now, this isn't hopium. This is just me saying when we have a market that's been sliding to the downside consistently, it's definitely time for a little bit of relief. And this isn't just for Bitcoin. This is the entire market. So a little bit of rally into the time frame around the eclipse, at least before the eclipse, would be ideal. But then this is where things get a little bit more technical, because I've been putting out a lot of data in regards to the upcoming Friday the 13th. Then we have, of course, a couple days later, the eclipse. We know how these eclipses have been. They've been big washouts, but not every single eclipse needs to be a washout. And I said this in my last video, and people were kind of confused because we did have a bearish day on the last eclipse that just happened a couple days ago, but it wasn't a washout. It was just a tiny little, like, we're within the range. You know, what I'm talking about is full-blown collapse out of price structure. Now, what we've seen is that's typically what it is, but it doesn't have to happen every single time. We saw right here on an annual solar eclipse, the market melted to the upside. Okay, so you can't just take a piece of information and always go with it and bet on it. It's not a good time to be leverage trading if you're new to this game. You know, it's an accumulation cycle, or if you really believe we're going to collapse completely, then just save your chips for the dips. It's pretty simple, right? You know, don't get emotional about this. The market isn't made for emotional people. It's made for unemotional people to take money from emotional people. That's how it's designed. So the richest people are the ones who have the richest mindset. And the richest mindset is of those who have control over their emotions. Those who have control over their emotions take action. Those who don't do anything. So it's really important to take action on this market. And the best way to do that is to study it, not to get emotional towards it. So as we move towards this Mercury in retrograde time frame, it'll be interesting. It's one of few data points. We know that the full moons are typically bearish. So for those people that don't believe, there's any more upside potential left to go in this market, well, then you got to make a call on your portfolio accordingly. You know, ultimately that's on you. But what we have seen in prior iterations of the Shmita year into the late May and very early June timeframe, it's typically a sell in May, walk away moment after a relief rally. So a lot could happen in very short time. Look at what Bitcoin did just last month from March. Over here, 15 days, it went up about 25%, and that's on daily closes. Okay, so if we were to just copy that, 25%, 15 days, we're looking at May 14th, about 47K Bitcoin. And if Bitcoin was to get rejected below these highs here around early April, late March, that would look like to me a head and shoulders in the making. And then I would probably count on the local head and shoulders to be a breakdown back to the prior support lows. And then I have some things coming out in the background that support Bitcoin holding the 30K level. Again, not hopium, just data. Right now, we're seeing it get very extreme across analysts. People are calling for 20K, sub 20K, and that's fine. I really don't give a shit at this point. What matters most, though, is what we will do about that. How do we take action? What the market does, you can't control. When the market does, you can control. That's like the quote of the year. Okay, it's so important that you remember what I just said, because so many people think they could will the market into performing the way they would like, and that's not the way this game works. It's the ones who get in when it's the most boring or the most scary that win, because if you include patience alongside that, it's an always up moving trend within the macro. And Bitcoin has proven that. The other altcoins, not so much. But Bitcoin at least has proven that. And on the blockchain data, when you see there's not been much of inflows into exchanges, actually there's been historic lows on exchanges for Bitcoin. Bitcoin's been moving off of exchanges. That's a bullish sign. So I don't want to get too deep into the on-chain analytics, but it is important that people consider all these things right now. So let's take these next couple days and just take it for what it is regarding holding the level of about 37,500. If Bitcoin starts to close dailies below 37.5, I suspect there will be probably a washout down to about 34, and it would be more likely to expect relief at this time given how oversold the market is and the pricing in of the lows based on the upcoming Fed meeting. So that's what matters, in my opinion. When you're going with the herd, believing that everything will just be bearish because it's showing itself as bearish, that fear will start to burrow into people's decisions, and it makes people bad investors. So I'm definitely playing this, just from the patience side of things. We do know that there was a relief bounce at the end of yesterday in the market, even though we saw across the board all the indices make new lows in the micro structure. So let's look a little bit deeper into this blue colored chart. Let me turn off and go to the candles and show you guys one more thing. Let me extend this out to zoom in a little bit. So I have this parallel channel coming in perfectly at these wicks, and we also just hit that same level which aligned with the 236 fib. And this is a thing that I've taught everyone. Whenever you place a new all-time high and then have a larger washout, you will typically have a big, in this big horizontal trading range, you'll have a retest and support of the 236 fib. So it's a very key level. Now at this time, what we expect is relief rally into the golden pocket followed by a rejection, and then you would have what's considered a bull trap breakdown, and then you move down into potentially new lows. In the meantime, as long as you're within this structure, it is micro bullish where we have higher lows, but according to this pattern is in fact a bear flag, which is a bearish pattern. And it's not just a short-term bear flag. This thing's going on months now. All right, it's going on months holding the support and showing this as a resistance regarding the flag. And the flagpole is even very clean as well. Bitcoin showing cleaner patterns than everything else. Of course it is, because it has the highest market cap. Even this recent rejection here on April 21st was perfectly into the heart line of this parallel channel. So if you consider this parallel channel as part of the short-term analysis, we're trapped within the 382 fib and the 236 for a majority of this trading range. Anything closing above this daily high here of 41,800 would probably swipe you back into the mid 40s and then see how it reacts around this 0.5 fib. Getting another rejection at the 0.5 fib and having a double top would definitely signal this market needs to wash out one last time, meaning breaking structure to the downside. In regards to the bullish sentiment, any daily closes above 44,500, then you would probably be looking somewhere at the top of this parallel channel. Anything over this parallel channel right now is a little bit too hopium, okay? So 51K would be ideal. If Bitcoin could go to 51K after being retesting 37, that would bring a lot of liquidity and excitement into the altcoins, and then that would be, a good finale for this run in the short term. What the altcoins do individually, that's a different story. The more suppressed ones deserve to have a little bit more of a rally. The ones that are a lot more inflated, who've gotten a lot of gains, it's not as likely that they perform as well as stuff that's suppressed. And that's just basics, right? That's how you would analyze this market with common sense. So here we are on the Ethereum chart, and this is definitely something to be looking at. I'm just going to delete this by now because we know that rejection was a clean one, and this is a confirmed long-term macro trend line. I'm talking about this the yellow down-sloping resistance line. Mixing words here. So then we have our red support line, which has been in play now for a while. I showed this in the last video, so no need to get back into it, but we are seeing that this is holding structure as well. And this, again, it is looking similar to a bear flag, but a lot more volatile. I wouldn't necessarily call Ethereum on the bear flag at this particular time. I would wait for this to resolve itself. This looks like a huge symmetrical triangle where this was just an upthrust after a short-term reaccumulation cycle, or a bull trap if you just want to be very simple. Now this coiling up effect shows me, because we got rejected at the 702, if this was to close any dailies above this yellow trend line and above the 702, this could actually rally to new all-time highs based on this structure. So this is a big long-term reaccumulation cycle. And that, I think ETH, if we had a breakout and we started trading dailies above 3,600, this could rally higher into the 4,000s again, even maybe into a new all-time high. That's just based off a structure. Now the bearish would be if we close below this 382 as well as below this red trend line. We have not closed below this red support line ever since we got above it. And that's February of 2021. So this is a very, very, very important support line. And if we saw something like this happen where it closed below, washed out to the 236, then came back up to it and got rejected again, confirmed it as a resistance, the moment it breaks this level, that's lights out. This thing's going to double bottom, head back to below 2,000, trade into 1,600, and then you take it one day at a time from there. And that would be indicative of the sub 30K Bitcoin. If Bitcoin starts getting below 30K, this will start breaking down into 1500, etc. And then you'd have a base somewhere around here, this prior level. And that would also align with the prior all-time high of ETH coming back to 2018. So this is very holistic analysis here. So I'm just caught up in a range, and we can't really say too much until there's resolution. Range bound, which I don't mind. Those swing traders out there, anyone who took my advanced trading course, the advanced trading course teaches how to scalp, how to trade, how to swing trade. There's so many swing trades to be made over the past couple months. So those people who are a little bit more active, unlike me, working 13, 14 hours every day on my business, those people who have the time and they have a trading portfolio and a conservative trading setup where they're not using too much of their overall crypto portfolio, they're not using too much leverage, they're using conservative amount of contracts. Those individuals who've been swing trading lately have been really just dominating this game, because that's all we've been doing is chopping in a range. So XRP, very similar story. We keep having these retests of lower levels and bouncing with slightly new highs, like slightly new higher lows, excuse me. So we have here our low, higher low, and slightly higher low. I mean, it's just hilarious how the market maker keeps doing this. I know it's frustrating a lot of people, but I really see it as a brilliant thing to squeeze out and bore out the investor regarding this particular currency. So not too much to be said here too. This is just range bound. Right now, being trapped between the 786 and the 888 fib, that's not ideal off of this pull. But let me just show you kind of what we have going on here. If I was to pull like this, so it's from this swing high to that swing low right there, approximately. And you can see it's the 236 that's been giving us hell. It's that 85-cent level, which aligns right with the 702. So again, getting above that 80-cent level, that 86, 87-cent level, that's the ticket to seeing continuation. Until then, this is just a boring story and not much to say. But also, this is one of those suppressed coins. So when we revisit some of the words that I shared earlier, if we are going to have any bullish breakout, it's going to be more likely that liquidity would want to slide into XRP rather than something like Terra Luna, which is already been overvalued for quite a while now. Now, again, it's a great project. I think what Terra Luna did with purchasing a big Bitcoin position to hedge themselves, I thought that was brilliant. But with that being said, I mean, we're in Shmita, and we already saw that coin do what it did, and it's just had its moment, and that is something where I wouldn't be too caught up in personally. I don't like to look at charts that have already been doing super well, because what more opportunity do they have? I rather look for opportunity. And to me, XRP is one of those for the long term. So I do hear some sentiments about the SEC case. I would love to know some of your guys' updates on that theater, because to me, that's all it is at this point. Just a bunch of theater, moving it. Some person told me that it was going to be resolved by like May 13th, May 15th, which is right around the eclipse and Friday the 13th. So that would be hilarious if like the whole market just drowned out and XRP, shot up to $2 in a day or something. We don't know anymore, right? But anyways, I'm going to wrap up this video. If XRP can hold these levels, it would be indicative of Bitcoin having a little bit of a recovery. Any closures below 54 cents, that's going to be pretty devastating for XRP. As it holds this level, it'll most likely gravitate back up towards this trend line, as it does every single time. It loves to gravitate back to this trend line, and now it's all about structure. It would need to get above this 86 cent level and get back towards the 618 fib with the bearish retrace. So I'm gonna end this one here. I hope everyone has had a beautiful day and enjoyed this video. Again, the new month of Patreon has started just a couple days ago, but now you can sign up at patreon.com/watersabove. And the new Red Pill podcast I just did a couple days ago is currently available, and I'll have a new one out on this weekend. So I appreciate all of you. Have a beautiful rest of your day. Much love.